Hi, my name is Rana Zohab, and I'm here to talk to you about. I'm basically here to give you a demo on how to deploy your Biztalk application using the deployment framework. Um, first of all, I'll give you some functionalities of Biztalk deployment framework. After you have integrated your deployment framework with Visual Studios, in the Tools tab, you will have an option Deployment Framework for Biztalk. In that option, there will be few functions such as this deploy Biztalk solution. It basically does what's written there. It basically deploys your Biztalk application into the Biztalk admin console, and it the difference between deploying by yourself and deploying using the deployment framework is that it basically deploy complex solution containing orchestrations, schemas, maps, everything uh, in few minutes with basically no human intervention. Is it the It basically eliminates all manual steps in your Biztalk deployments. Um, let's come to the build server deploy MSI. What it does is that it creates an MSI file. It's basically a setup file. You just take that setup file into any machine, install that setup file, and your Biztalk deployment folder, Biztalk application will be installed into that machine, into that server, and from there you can deploy your Biztalk application. There are a few other helpful functions of deployment frameworks such as this bounce Biztalk. It basically restarts all the host instances, and it also restarts IIS. There is also terminate all service instances. There is also this GAC output. It basically adds the selected assembly into the global assembly cache. Um, let's talk about my project. Uh, this solution basically contains three projects. Um, one project for orchestration, one project for schemas, and one project for map. As you can see, the orchestration is already opened. It's a really simple orchestration. It has a receive port. It receives the input, it maps the input into output, and it sends into the send port. The receive port and send port are basically folder locations. It has a map in the map project, and two schemas in the schema project. Now, how to deploy this application using deployment framework. First of all, if you haven't created a deployment framework project, uh, just right click on the solution, click on the add new project, deployment framework for Biztalk project. I've already done that. I'm not going to click on OK, but you have to. What it will do, it will create few files. You have to play with those files, you have to edit those files. With the help of those files, the deployment framework will deploy your Biztalk project, your Biztalk application. So one of those files is this one that I have clicked, the one that its name is deployment.btdf prog. I will open it and I will show you what it contains. It basically contains the information of what to include, what not to include, and after defining what to include, you have to basically define their assemblies and the location paths of those assemblies. So in my case, I have marked true in include orchestrations because I have a project that contains an orchestration. I have marked true for transforms meaning maps, and schemas. Also, the using master binding is also set to true because the second file that is created by deployment framework is the master binding file I will talk about to you later. After defining what to include and what not to include, this portion is automatically created when this file is being created. Yes, this in the under the item group tab, what we have to do is, for every project we have to include its assembly. We have to write the name of the assembly and the location path of the assembly. And in my case, the project that contains orchestrations, I have to define it as orchestrations. This tab as orchestrations. For schemas, everything the same. Assembly name, then location path, except instead of orchestration, schemas. Then transforms, the name of the assembly that contains the maps, and then the location path of the assembly basically, and then the close tab. That's all for the deployment.btdf file. After it, we have to deal with the port binding master file. I will show you. Basically, it contains what port binding master file should contain is all the bindings of your Biztalk application. What bindings are is, bindings contains all the information. Binding contains all the information of your Biztalk application, the names, the details, the specifications of your ports, your pipelines, your orchestrations, your schemas, your maps, obviously that you have to deploy, that is being deployed in the admin console. So after creating the deployment framework for Biztalk project, this file is being created, but it contains completely nothing, just few portion of code, but we have to basically include the bindings into this file. We have to basically export or copy the bindings into this file. And how to do that? First we have to deploy our Biztalk application manually without the deployment framework. After it's deployed, and also start it, enlist all the send ports, receive ports, orchestration, define their hosts instances, and after starting the application, what we have to do is we have to let's say here this test deployment service. Let's take this for an example. What I'll do is I'll export, and then I'll export its bindings. After it, I will just select the path. I've already exported the bindings while deploying it using the deployment framework. This folder, this test binding.xml, contains the bindings of my sample Biztalk application. Now I'll show you, and then I just open the then I just opened, yes, here it is, test binding. It contains all the module ref collection and send port collection and the receive ports collection. So after it, the third and the last file that we have to deal with to deploy our Biztalk application using the deployment framework is this settings file generator. It's basically an Excel file, and it consolidates all of your environment specific configuration and runtime settings into basically one easy to use Excel spreadsheet. By settings, I mean the details, the names of the receive locations, the send ports, the URLs of the send ports, or the file paths of the send ports, the host instances. Because let's say in this machine, the host instances names are Biztalk server application, and in another machine I don't want my application, my orchestration, to have host name Biztalk server application. I want some different name. I can't manually do that. That basically eliminates the purpose of Biztalk deployment framework. Biztalk deployment framework automates everything. So I'll just I'll just write those few specific settings, few specific locations, names, or whatever I want to write in this settings file generator file, XML file. And after installing my MSI into that specific machine, I will just select that tab. I will show you later on how to do that. Let's open the settings file generator. Here it is, it's already opened. Now I'll show you. These are the settings. These are just 3 to 4 settings. For normally there are so many settings because all the receive ports or all the receive locations or the send port locations, addresses, host instances, so receive host, receive handler, or all these are basically in the environment settings file. And there are some default values. You can set any default value. So if some let's say some receive port or some orchestration has a host instance set to Biztalk server application, let's say Biztalk server application in all the machines that I want to use, then I'll just give it a default value, and it will be set there. But the main advantage of the settings file is that these tabs, as you can see, is local development and shared development, or test or production. After installing my Biztalk application using the deployment framework into my machine or into any machine, then I will be given an option to select whether select this exported underscore local settings.xml, or this exported dev settings.xml, or test settings.xml, or production prod settings.xml. What it means is that I can write any variables, I can write any settings corresponding to the variables corresponding to the settings I have defined here. Let's say for the receive location, I have in the local development I have written it as C users administrator desktop input.xml, and in the dev settings I can write any folder path. In the test I can write any folder path, and if I take my MSI into the local development machine, I'll just select this file into the any different machine where I have to use the dev settings. I'll just select this file and the receive location will be changed. But here comes a little complication. How the deployment framework would know that which variables you need to have multiple values, or which variables you need to have in settings file generator. So what we'll do is we'll tokenize those variables. By tokenizing, let me show you what I mean. In the test binding, as I have previously told you, that the receive port collection, it's basically the binding of my sample project, and in the receive port I have defined the path of the receive location. It's basically an input folder in the desktop. But if I want to tokenize this variable, this receive location, I want this receive location to have a variety of folder paths, basically machine specific folder paths. Then I'll just, in this address tab, I'll just tokenize it. I'll write receive location, as I have already written in my port bindings master, receive location. And when I'll deploy the MSI, what MSI will do is MSI will ask me which file you want to select, which settings file you want to select is, and it will, if I select the local development local settings.xml, what it'll do is it will read this tokenized variable address, it will read receive location, it will go to the settings file, and it will see that received location's value is this C users admin, etc, etc, and it will basically overwrite the value of that received location, that any variable, and basically that's all for tokenization. After that, I will show you how to create the MSI. Let me show you how to create the MSI and install it, and install your Biztalk application. Just select this build server deploy MSI. It will now create the MSI file. It usually takes 10 to 15 minutes. 7 minutes, I meant seconds. It has created the MSI, and let me show you. In your deployment folder, this deployment folder is basically automatically created when I created deployment framework for Biztalk project. In the bin folder, in the debug, it contains this MSI file. This MSI file is created. Just double click, take it on any machine, just double click, because this MSI file, it contains all the assemblies. It contains the settings file generator file. It has each and everything required to deploy your Biztalk application. After double clicking it, next, you accept. This is the path where your application will be installed. This MSI will be installed. Next, install. It is going to be installed. Finish. Now open the start menu. In the all programs, you will find Biztalk sample for Biztalk project. Now this folder contains 3 setups. One to deploy the Biztalk sample, basically Biztalk application. One to redeploy. Why redeploy? Because if you have if your application is already in the Biztalk admin console, then you should select the redeploy. What it will do is it will stop that application from the admin console, and it will then delete that application, and then it will install the new application into the admin console, and then there is undeploy. It will just stop and delete your Biztalk application currently in the admin console. Let's check whether our application is in the Biztalk console or not. Refresh the applications. Nope, it isn't in there. Now let's install the Biztalk sample, deploy. Okay, wow. Start all programs. Let's select Biztalk sample for Biztalk. This is basically the folder where the MSI is installed. Deploy. Now it has asked me the domain qualified account name. Next. Here, what I was talking to you about, it's asking me the XML, the settings XML file. Let me open which settings file to select. Then you'll select the environment settings. Now you see these 4 XML files. These are basically created from the 4 tabs of the settings file generator, the Excel sheet. and as soon as I select any one of these, all the tokenized variables will be replaced by variables in by values or fields inside this that specific settings file. Uh, let's select the local settings, next, and finish. This will take at least a minute because it will do each and every step for you. It will install the assemblies into the global assembly cache. It will restart host instances. It will deploy your Biztalk application. It will enlist your orchestrations, your receive ports, your send ports. Uh, it's currently resetting or restarting IIS, and it's now restarting your host instances. Uh, it's almost done. Just restarting few of the left host instances. And that's it. Done. The Biztalk application is installed using the deployment framework. You can ignore the warnings. These usually doesn't mean anything. Obviously, if there are some errors, then you have to solve those errors, those bugs. So now it's done. Press key. Let me show you the application. Refresh. The application is there. Orchestration is started. Send ports are started. Receive locations are enabled. The application is there. So that's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching my video. Goodbye.